Welcome to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen,
We got to give the people.
what do we
Give
get?
the people what they want.
The people want a podcast. The people
They
want the
do.
playoffs, and
Yep.
the people want competitive series. And I gotta tell you, man, a couple of these series don't seem that competitive. Miami, Brooklyn. Brooklyn goes 4-0 in the regular season. We all expect a lot. We've all marked our calendars. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I barely watched last night's game.
We got spoiled by the first round,
I know.
and rightfully so. The first round, especially in the West, was like the NCAA tournament.
Mm-hmm.
It was really a record-breaking first round. In overtime games decided by 3 or less.
Total number of games.
Total number of games, road teams winning games,
Mhm.
4-point plays.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was terrific theater for the NBA that withstood a couple of hits. It withstood
National news.
the Sterling controversy.
Yeah.
And even last night, like you said, more good basketball being played. But for the Heat, they have LeBron James. And Kevin Durant is this year's MVP. But there's something to be said to be a 4-time MVP still in his prime that's gone to the finals 3 straight years and back-to-back championships. And so they took care of business with the Bobcats. Granted, they got a break without Jefferson being injured.
Sure did.
But instead of them winning by 20, they would have won by 9.
I know.
Okay.
The Bobcats would have snuck one.
They would
would've
not
snuck
have.
one.
No, they were getting swept. Okay. And what happens when you're a veteran-laden championship team like they are, they know the most important thing is to handle their business, get their rest. And Shane Battier, Ray Allen, those players really needed. Dwayne Wade.
Well,
And so now they're in the second round and they're playing against the Nets. People felt like, oh, they beat them 4 times in the regular season. What's that going to mean in the playoffs? Nothing.
nothing. Yeah, it doesn't mean much. And have you seen what happened with Ray Allen? I mean, he is now, I believe, 8 for 11, 11 for 18 in the series. He was 6 for 28 in the previous series. He's caught fire. And once he starts scoring, once that starts happening, they look tough to beat.
So today's game now, because metrics have become so much a part of it and what teams do and how they operate their plays and set up their offensive flow, it's mostly 3-point shots, try to get layups, and or try to work yourself to the free throw line.
Mm-hmm.
So when you play against like a team like Miami that has old school players, the thing we never give them credit for is their depth. Like the Birdman is a productive player as a 4 or 5.
And he's got a role. He stays
gets
in his
rebounds.
lane. Yeah.
He runs the floor.
And that baseline cut.
He blocks shots.
His guy helps all the time. And he finds himself a dunk.
You never see him go to the block and put his hand up and ask for the ball.
Mm-mm.
He's not doing that. He's playing within himself. And so when you go against those type of teams, Ray Allen can actually come off screens. That's one of the things I like about Bradley Beal in today's game as a young shooting guard. He can play with the basketball, pick and roll situations, fast break situations, and play without the ball. So now you don't get a chance to go against players that often that are on the baseline, faking one way, going a single double, doing a wheel route, coming off, trying to get you to chase.
You played with one of them.
Reggie Miller.
Yep.
And that's what makes the Spurs hard to beat, as well as the Heat, because they're like an old school team. Watch the Nets play. And they have some terrific players at this point in their career. Joe Johnson, his nickname in Atlanta, ISO Joe.
Mm-hmm.
He can shoot the 3. He can post up smaller wings. He's going to get you 20 points.
If you're an NBA fan and you haven't been paying attention to the Nets this year, you've missed a season from Joe Johnson.
Yes.
Like everybody talks about how much money he makes and whatever. He's played this year.
He got a real game. He's one of the players that can actually play 3 positions in the league, especially offensively.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to show up. But the problem is, who's he going against every night? LeBron James, Shane Battier.
Yeah.
That's a tough matchup. So you need to take advantage of, on paper, where you should be strong. That's at the point.
Mm-hmm.
And Miami starts Chalmers and backs up with Cole, who neither one of those guys are playing an all-star caliber, but they're championship players.
You would expect D. Will to take over, wouldn't you?
You need them to.
Do you know how many points he had?
0.
Do you know how many points that is?
That's none.
That's as many as you scored.
He was 0 for 9, and so he's been an Olympian. He's been an all-star. One of the things that has to be said, it's almost like the Prince and Michael Jackson arguments. Even though Prince went on to become one of the great entertainers, and I'm still a fan. Matter of fact, I need to watch Purple Rain again. How's the family? Morris Day style. But with that being said, it was the same thing with D. Will and CP3. Arguing who were the better point guards when they first came in the league. You got to give Jerry Sloan a lot of credit. he got the maximum out of D. Will.
He did.
And you got to give the Jazz a lot of credit is because they parlayed D. Will into a lot of parts. One of those parts end up benefiting actually other teams when you got Gerald Wallace and da-da-da. The bottom line is one of those was the 8th pick that turned out to be Damian Lillard.
Yeah.
Who's playing for the Blazers.
He's playing pretty well.
Who's an all-star this year?
He's playing pretty well.
Okay, so for the Nets, I think they'll get one game, Heat in 5.
Joe Johnson said this. I don't know if you've heard this one yet. This is a quote from Joe Johnson. Outside of LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, we are a more talented team.
Okay, so this is what I'll say to that. Outside of Magic Johnson, I'm the best tall point guard ever.
Yeah. So basically, I'm the best. Yeah.
No, but in all seriousness, they're the 2 best players on the team.
And that's what happened. It's like LeBron James is the best player that's ever lived.
You know what? My team in Indiana would have beat the Bulls if they ain't had
And
Michael
Jordan.
Scottie.
Yeah. Outside of Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, we're the more talented team.
We also would have beat the Lakers if they ain't had Shaq and Kobe.
Of course, yeah. Outside of Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant, we're the more talented team. I mean, we don't know what question was asked. You could have been baited into it. You know that happens a lot.
You don't have to be baited. It's a competition thing. When I go to the game and I'm playing against Kobe Bryant, he's a future Hall of Famer. I'm a 13-year vet. I never made an all-star game, but I get paid to play basketball also. And people joke about him scoring 81 on me. They forget that I outscored him in the NBA Finals in 2000. So there's a competitive spirit for Joe Johnson that says, yeah, they got those 2 guys. That's fine, dandy, good. But you know what? We preparing. We working hard. We going to show up. Hey, Plumlee, KG Blotch. Hey, D. Will. Hey, Paul Pierce. I need you guys to dominate those matchups. That's really what he's saying.
KG doesn't seem like KG to me. Oh, no. Oh, no. He gets the water.
I love you, Big Ticket, but I got to pour out a beverage.
Is it?
I do not want to see one of my favorite players, 2010-4 in Minnesota, go to Boston, win a chip, still pounding his chest, still thumping his head, playing with such emotion. He's one of the players in my era I wish I could have played with. And a lot of people don't know if he would have went to college, he was coming to Michigan, and I would have got a chance to run with the Big Ticket.
Is it closer to him getting a double? Which will happen first? He gets a double-double, or you work with him behind the desk?
He get a double-double.
Okay.
Here's why. He got another year left on this contract.
And he's going to get that money.
He's getting them checks.
If you saw Steve Nash finish line, yeah.
You remember, what is KG's nickname? Oh, the Big Ticket.
Yeah.
You don't get a name like that by turning down your bread. Okay? So from that, I would deem between this year's playoffs and 82 games next year, he's going to at least get one double-double.
Yeah, double-double. Okay.
But the point is, I never would have thought I'd say, Valanciunas is taking it to KG. I never would have thought I'd say Birdman is out playing KG. Like, I've been covering the NBA Finals since 2002, every single one, okay? And I've been doing this media thing full time since 2007. That's the prime of his career.
Yeah.
Okay? And so he deserves to fall off somewhat productivity-wise, rightfully so, because of his age. And we all talk about it on this podcast. What's undefeated? In no particular order, depending on what day it is. Father Time, Gravity, and Women. And so he deserves to bow out gracefully, but next year he's still on their books. And Danny Ainge, he played on the fact that the Nets and the Clippers, both large market teams, were tired of being JV in their own market.
Mm-hmm. And so they needed something now.
Yeah, we'll trade y'all Doc Rivers for a first-round pick.
I'll help you out.
Cool. Is he going to hoop? No, he ain't going to hoop. But that ended up working out for the Clippers because what he's done in handling the Sterling situation, that's worth 3 first-round picks.
Oh, yeah.
Alone. Forget basketball.
Who knows what would have happened if a Del Negro was still there or Mike Dunleavy or whatever.
Question.
Who knows what would have happened.
Just to maintain the brand, it's good to have him in play. And for the Nets, Paul's in the last year of his deal. KG still has another year left on his deal. They mortgaged multiple picks to the Celtics for those 2 guys. So from that, Nets highest payroll in the league, they go out in 5.
Just make a case. Make me a case.
I can't.
That's what I'm going to try to do. For the teams that are down 0-2, make me a case for the Nets.
There's no case for the Nets.
LeBron James gets hurt. That's
Nah,
all. That's all I got.
We'll take another 0-2 team. I'll make a case for the Blazers.
We're gonna get there.
Okay.
But first, I want to talk to you about something that's being spoken about a lot. It's just always on. It's always on Sports Center.
Holly Berry.
It's always on NBA TV. Roy Hibbert, 0.0 rebounds, goes fishing, 28 points. He looked good in the last game. Oh, that's the difference in the series. Like, just explain it to me. Like, what is going on with Roy Hibbert? I've never seen anything like it before.
Just by divine intervention, I bleed blue and gold.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit Southwestern High School. I was blessed and fortunate enough to play for the legendary coach Perry Watson. We won 3 city, 2 state.
Were your colors blue and gold?
Yes, they were. We
Really?
won 3 city championships. We won 3 PSL championships, 2 city championships, 2 state, and 1 national. University of Michigan.
Maize and blue.
Maize and blue. You know about the success of Michigan in the Fab Five while I was there. Big shout out to those gentlemen. NBA. The best success I had in the NBA was with the Indiana Pacers.
Mm-hmm.
Share those colors. Big shout out to Larry Bird, Donnie Walsh, and that leadership.
So don't act like you don't know something.
So, if you're going to talk to me about those 3 situations, I know them intimately.
Talk to me about Roy Hibbert.
Okay. Roy Hibbert, while intellectual, is sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
While a productive center, he's not the most limber.
Mm-hmm.
He took it some kind of way that they brought in Andrew Bynum and put him in the game, featured him, gave him the basketball over and over again to try to see what he had. 1.
What's wrong? Come on, man. How sensitive can you be?
2, after the All-Star break, in which you can look at any of the reports, any blog sites, any interviews, you could go back to anyone's timeline. The Pacers were on the course to really shatter a lot of franchise records with wins.
Sure.
He was an All-Star.
So run away with the number 1 seed.
And run away with the number 1 seed, correct.
Yeah.
His production, along with George Hill to somewhat, because he gets a pass because he's not an All-Star.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, there was a series a few years ago where Coach Pop actually started George Hill over Tony Parker.
Yeah, well, for good reason.
In a playoff
For
series.
good reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the potential we were looking for in him, which is why we give up the pick for Kawhi Leonard to get George Hill. So it's a pillar problem. But for Roy Hibbert, there's no excuse, there's no rhyme, no reason for a 7-foot player to never have a rebound in the game.
But I see him moving differently on the floor. Like, he does look hobbled. I don't think it's mental. I don't think it's sensitivity. I saw him set a pick and roll the basket. It was like 5 steps normally would take 3 steps.
I don't know how old Bill Russell is currently, but that's how Roy Hibbert runs now.
Yeah.
How
It
Russell
wasn't
would
always
run.
like that though. He was. I mean, he never looked like he never looked like Allen Iverson out there. But he hasn't always been that flat-footed and slow.
David Jacoby.
He has.
He's always looked like that. And in him being at Georgetown 4 years, he developed into a player. He made himself through hard work into an all-star, into an anchor for the Pacers. The best play he's made in his career, Carmelo Wright baseline, Roy Hibbert come for the rejection. Okay, helps them win that series. That was his Mutombo lay on the floor with the ball after beating Seattle moment. So he's had some flashes, and he deserved the acclaim that he's gotten. But again, to be in the NBA and 7 foot, all you gotta do is be able to walk and chew gum.
And you got to get a rebound. Like, you have to get a rebound.
And you must get a rebound.
Just 1 rebound.
And so here's the other thing I noticed. There's getting position, there's having ball skills, and there's having the activity and the anticipation to actually get the rebound. His problem beyond offense, if you watch the game, he's barely getting off the floor. He's barely able to get 1 or 2 hands on the basketball. What makes Dennis Rodman, Charles Barkley, Moses Malone, these type of guys great rebounders, Kevin Love in today's game, is that just like I'm anticipating, oh, okay, somebody's getting the post up, the double coming from the top, he gonna throw it to me at the top. If this guy don't come help, I'm gonna pump fake, I'm gonna throw it to that guy. That's an anticipation.
Yep.
Rebounding is the exact same way. Watch him play. He has not done a good job of paying attention to the angles of where the ball may come off. getting his hands up, being active and go attack the rebound. That's a bigger issue that doesn't show up on the score sheet, but may still plague him beyond the 28-point game that he's had moving forward.
His lack of lateral movement stops him from getting rebounds that are not directly to him. You know what I mean? Like Rodman would get to the other side of the basket when he saw the ball going there and get rebounds he shouldn't have gotten.
If you're a basketball fan, and I do this, I watch games a lot of times. I'll say 20% of the time I watch a game, I watch it without stats. Of course, while you're watching a game, they'll put the leading scorer, rebound, and assist guy on the screen. But that's only, to me, as somebody that played organized basketball for 20 straight years, middle school, high school, college, and pro, I can tell how a player's playing beyond looking at the stat sheet. Mm-hmm. I don't have to look at that. So for Roy Hibbert, that's a bigger issue for me moving forward for a player that you signed to a long-term deal that's going to be your center, because he's not making plays that do not show up on the stat sheet. Yeah, if we're going to feature you and they're not going to double you, you better be able to score if you're dribbling 3 times on the post and they're not doubling you, you're 7'2", you can reach your hand up and grab the rim without jumping.
Yeah.
Okay, you better get a high percentage shot. But also when I'm featuring you and you ain't Kareem, other cats standing around.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden Lance, who not a spot-up shooter, is spotting up. All of a sudden, Paul George, who likes to get in the full-court situation, is playing in a half-court situation. George Hill, who needs to be in a full-court situation, is spotting up like he's, J.J. Redick.
Yeah.
And so that's what they have to watch for. That's why this Washington series is very intriguing.
I think another thing about this Washington series, and I'll admit that I slept on him, is the play of Nene and Gortat together. Because Nene has been injured, and I haven't really seen sort of like them come together, but offensively and defensively, they're much more effective than I
Big, strong physical presence.
Yeah.
Both of those players can play with their back to the basket. You could throw it to them to get post-up offense. They both can knock down a 12 or 15
and all the stuff you're
shot.
talking about that doesn't show up on the stat sheets. Those guys are changing shots, and they're helping out. They're denying guys in the post, and they're doing stuff that doesn't show up.
No doubt. Hedging on the basketball, on pick and roll situations defensively, rim runs.
Getting back to their man,
making free throws. And
grabbing people by the back of the neck.
Yes, indeed.
That doesn't show up in the stat sheet.
I like the way Nene handled that. His incident with Jimmy Butler. Here's the thing.
All right.
The next time you playing rec ball in somebody's backyard, at the park, at the YMCA, wherever you playing basketball, old style basketball, there was a reason why you play on the perimeter, 1, 2, and 3, and I play inside, 4 or 5. Because I got to bang against guys that are 2 times bigger than you. Yeah. I know players like LeBron James have shattered the mold with his size, the way he's built like Karl Malone.
He's shattered everything.
Or a KD who's 6'10", 6'11".
Exceptions.
So you can play him at a small 4 even though he's not the most physically imposing player. But for the most part, that's a matchup. That should be a mismatch. And when I was playing in the league, if I got stuck on the power forward, you better be able to turn around and score on me fast. Mm-hmm. Or you can't play in this league. Mm-hmm. That's how that went then. But in today's game, there's a lot of cross-matching. And so when the Nene gets tangled up after a made basket with Jimmy Butler, when I got tangled up with Charles Oakley, when I got tangled up with Charles Barkley, playing against those guys, when I was in the league, I just run back on defense and don't even deal with them. Dale, Antonio, please help. I'm not dealing with them. So Jimmy Butler was barking up that tree, but that tree almost fell on him. Because he didn't want that problem, really.
Do you think that Nene, there's a thing, I feel like there's a part of Nene that's like, well, if I'm going to get the suspension, I should have got a little more out of it. You know what I mean? It's like he restrained himself to a certain point, but it's like, man, I wish I would have earned it a little bit.
Here's the thing I would say to compliment all basketball players, and it's a term I affectionately use. It's called "hold me back." Okay? You watch the game, the referee is 55, 65 years old. All of a sudden, he's holding back a guy that's 6'9",
professional athlete,
265. Okay, that can run through a brick wall. So Nene was calculating on what he did. He deserved a suspension. He came back. They were able to advance. That series with Indiana's going 7.
As a Wizards fan, I'd be very encouraged by what Nene and Gortat are doing down low. And I really love what Wall and Beal are doing. Should I be discouraged or concerned about bad decisions down the stretch in Game 2?
No. Wall and Beal, first playoff series. Backcourt, I affectionately call Hustle and Flow.
Which I like. I like that nickname. Some of your nickname, that one's good.
And so the barometer for their team, to me, is going to be Trevor Ariza. Championship pedigree, two-way player, has to match up against Paul George, knockdown three-point shooter. John Wall is going to take threes during the series, whereas whether it's in the first quarter or the fourth quarter, you just hope he makes them.
Yep.
So as a player, I've made those I'm about to silence the crowd shots, and I've missed them. And so when a guy gets an offensive rebound and you down 3, and it's like a minute 50, if he dump it out to you, if you got room, you actually should step up and knock that down.
That's what the
To
Spurs
me, as a player, that's not a bad shot. The one on the right wing was a quick shot, but
he was open.
You got to just make the shot. And so, to your question, I don't think they should worry about bad decisions. I think they're going to go home. Wale will be at the game. Deshaun Jackson will be at the game.
Okay.
Their crowd is going to be hyped. I wouldn't be surprised if Barack make it to one of these games. Like, it's going to be a thing.
He's got to go to one, right?
In the DMV, it's got to be a thing.
Where does he sit?
And here's the DMV shoulder shake for all the guys that go to the free throw line.
KD does that.
Yes, indeed.
So where does Barack sit if he goes to a game? I
Front
call him
row.
Barack because we're friends. I've been
No question.
I've been over his house. I've been
Or like the New York Post, just call him Bam.
Barry. Yeah, Barry is what I call him. I went over Barry's crib. hung out in Barry's crib.
He front row.
But is he or is he like sweet?
No, he not in the suite. He front row.
Yeah?
He's not trying to run for president again. If he was trying to run for a second term, he'll be in
He'll
the
be up-
suite.
yeah,
Nah,
yeah.
it's my last term.
Yeah, it's his last year of the contract.
I ain't worried about nothing.
He's to keep getting them checks president.
No
He's to
question.
keep getting them checks president.
No doubt. And he loves basketball, too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Let me get another popcorn.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So, speaking of popcorn and the Wizards, I'm never going to be speaking of for a transition again. Bradley Beal eats so much.
RG3 will be at the game, too.
Bradley Beal eats so much they call him Big Panda, right?
One reason. And he's the remix to Ray Allen to me. A cross between he and Rip Hamilton. He's 20 years old.
What's that got to do with him eating?
His metabolism burns that so fast.
Really?
He's 20 years old. You know how as you get older, the weight doesn't come off as easy.
Oh, I'm familiar.
The body doesn't heal as quick.
Yep.
Your reaction time or your awareness sometimes isn't as sharp. It happens to all of us. He's 20 years old. He's playing basketball every day. He's running up and down the court. Okay, he's working on his game. He's doing drills, da-da-da. So, yeah, it's almost like a youngster that lives in your house. Whether it's your son, whether it's your nephew or cousin, you're like, man, you in the refrigerator every 5 minutes. You know, every time I'm in the kitchen, you're in the kitchen. Eating up all the pig's feet, all the hog balls.
So who ate the most that you've ever played with?
I don't know.
Got to be Eddie Curry.
I
right?
never got a
It's
chance
gotta
to
be
play
Eddie
with
Curry.
Oliver Miller
Yeah.
or a player like that. Maybe Elmore Spencer, who played at Vegas. I played with him for a snapshot in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure.
You know, I want to go to my favorite series. This series has the most intrigue for me on so many different levels. The Thunder and the Clippers. Game 1, Chris Paul, 8 threes, big game. He had a big game 7 too. He seems like he's back. KD gives the speech, cries a lot. I'm going to say something. I'm going to say unpopular opinion. I'm going to say that maybe a little too much was made of this speech.
Okay.
Maybe a little too much. I thought it was a great speech. I'm not disrespecting Kevin Durant in any way. It's more, I think the media kind of ran with it a little too far. When you're watching the game and they're talking about his performance, they're relating it back to the award and the speech. What are your thoughts about that?
I'll get to the Chris Paul point first. I went back and watched that game again. Actually, I'm an NBA analyst
Game
for a
one and game
living
two.
and I actually evaluate talent. And so I always go back and watch a lot of these key games over again, make notes and stuff like that. And one of the things that really stood out to me when Chris Paul made those 8 threes is that each made three-pointer was versus a different defender. Okay? 8 different guys caught one of those threes.
I mean, you're probably 7 and 2 or whatever. Who cares? Yeah.
No,
You're
it's
dead serious, 8 for 8?
correct. And the reason why that happened is they decided if the guy got killed on the pick, we just switch it.
Just switch it.
Or if it's late in the clock, we'd switch it. And this is why you got to keep changing up your coverages on great players. You hear that in football. You hear it in
Especially
basketball.
in a series.
You hear it in baseball. The reason why you have to change up what you do is because these guys are the creme de la creme. When they figure out what you're doing, they could get comfortable. And so what he was doing was like, oh, okay, y'all switching late. So instead of me running a play with 5 seconds to go and trying to go into an ISO situation, hey, come pick. So now, all of a sudden I got Ibaka, I got Perkins, I got Butler, I got these guys that are bigger than me. They don't want me to drive past them. Now all of a sudden I got room for my Jimmy. And that is the adjustment they made in game 2. Russell Westbrook, you got to own that. You're an all-star point guard. He's an all-star point guard. We need you to handle that. And he did a better job of fighting through screens. He got maybe 2 or 3 calls on screens that as he was fighting through, the guy got called for a foul.
He flopped on a couple, whatever.
But he had 30 points with a triple-double, which is an amazing game.
How did they get that out of him? I mean, he seems a little inconsistent.
Furious styles. When you're watching a basketball game, there's certain players that you can feel their energy on the court. Like playing against Michael Jordan, he was the best player on offense, but he was also the best player on defense. So it's like, he'll get the ball, he'll make a play, he elbow me in the chest, elbow Reggie in the chest, he'll turn around, make a jump shot, cool. Now it's my turn to get you back. But wait, this guy's a lockdown defender too. So all of a sudden, it becomes tough sledding.
What did the energy feel like playing against Jordan?
It almost feels like when you exert yourself and you sweat, it's almost like when you're on the sideline, you can feel the breeze coming off that guy as he runs by you. Like it's an energy that everybody on the court feels. Russell Westbrook has that energy. And I would argue, and LeBron comes to mind, Kenneth Faried comes to mind, that those 3 players play just flat out harder than anybody. Like, just flat out playing hard, okay? Serge Ibaka, too.
Can I get a Noah?
And Noah. Noah belongs in that category, too. And here's a play you can circle back to define Russell Westbrook good and bad. Is why I call him Furious Styles beyond his fashion. He got an offensive rebound. He dribbled it out to the wing and shot a 3 and made it.
Sure did.
He didn't even hesitate. He didn't look at the coach. He didn't look at KD. He didn't look at the score. He was not thinking about it. It was all muscle memory. Like, you have to be so locked in to do that and so confident to do that. And that's how he's going to have those games where he has close to 10 turnovers. And he's going to have those dominant games like you saw in game 2.
And then I think both him and Cephalosha scored and then stole the inbound. I mean, that's just so demoralizing, especially if you're a big man and you're running back and you have your head turned and you turn around. Next thing you know, you see Cephalosha with the ball pulling it out.
You said the key. Basketball is a team game. And while we know KD and Russell can dominate a game, in the playoffs, teams make you go to your first and second option early in the clock. But all of a sudden, later in the clock, you have to go to your third and fourth option. Later in the series, sometimes you got to go to your fourth, fifth option. And that's where you need Cephalosha to make his open jump shots. That's where you need Ibaka to finish when they drop it to him at the hoop. The difference in this series, and this is why I picked OKC, and this is why I picked them to actually win the West.
I know exactly where you're going here.
They have 4 guys, 6'9" or above, that play quality minutes. The Clippers have 2. KD, Ibaka, Collison, Adams, Perkins. Okay? He's still playing quality minutes.
Combine Collison and Adams into one.
You can combine them into one.
Okay.
But the basketball is still a big man's game.
Sure.
It's the rules benefit the guards, but it's still a big man's game.
And I would add Matt Barnes for the Clippers, but he doesn't play big.
He's 6'7".
He doesn't feel he's taller than 6'7".
No, he's
taller than you.
I played against Matt Barnes
He's
multiple
taller than
times. When I played against Matt Barnes, where's the right block? We're going to the post.
He's taller than you think he is.
I played against him. I don't have to think of how tall he is. Okay. He's the only player in the history of the NBA to play for all California teams. But with that being said, that size gives you the ability to defend those players, give fouls, frustrate them. Like, one time, Ibaka rubbing up against Blake.
And Steven Adams.
And then Adams rubbing up against Blake.
He's so good at it.
And then Perkins rubbing up against Blake.
Yeah.
And then KD guarding him. And then he got to guard KD.
Yeah.
Like, that's work.
So let's talk about Blake. I mean, Blake was number 3 in MVP voting.
Right.
And he had it. I would call it I don't know if it's truly a breakout season, but he elevated his game in this regular season, it's safe to say. He had a good round one. And, he's kind of shrinking a little bit in this series. And I think that Ibaka has a lot to do with it.
His size. And they're taking away his layups and dunks.
Mm-hmm.
Blake is on the left side. He got a nice – normally players on the right side like to turn over the left shoulder to get to their right-hand jump
Facing
hook.
the basket the right side?
Facing the basket, left side block.
Yeah.
Normally right-hand players like to use that block so they can come to the middle over their left shoulder and shoot a right-hand jump hook.
Yeah, that's all I got.
But Blake has an unorthodox turnaround jumper where he's on that side turning over this shoulder and making a bank shot.
A bank shot, yeah. He did it 3 times in a row.
Correct, but here's the problem with that shot. You're shooting it right in the defense if he's up on you. So if a guy's able to take away your go-to shot, and all of a sudden now you got to go into I'm going to do a crab dribble and back him down mode.
Around, yeah.
Now the defense is set. And then you got guys like Russell digging down, Cephalosha digging down, Perkins coming weak side to block shots. Because where's DeAndre? He on the baseline. He's trying to get an offensive rebound. And so sometimes it creates a cluster where it's not necessarily room to operate, but it's also good D. What's going to happen in L.A. in tonight's game, and the Clippers going to win tonight's game, is that they're going to have better shooting at home. Okay? Matt Barnes, Jamal Crawford, J.J. Redick. They're playing more minutes with Dudley.
I love Dudley to hit a couple.
Those guys are going to make more shots. Yeah. And all of a sudden, when Chris Paul comes off that high elbow, pick and roll on the right side facing, and DeAndre or Blake sets the pick and they roll, the weak side guys got to take away that dunk or become Brandon Knight in the poster, like DeAndre dunked on him.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, that pass over the top to the corners there, you rotate to that guy. Here, Dudley, here's a wing jump shot, get yourself
So here's what I like watching the game, and you as an NBA analyst, I'm curious to hear what you think. I like when they post up Westbrook.
I do too.
I like when they post up Westbrook. I don't feel like they do it enough. They do it. I'm not going to say they don't do it, but it's, you've got Chris Paul down there. Just make him work. Make him work.
Here's what OKC did that was smart. They brought Reggie Jackson out of nowhere, turned him into a player, and he's a rotation player.
Yep.
And going against Russell Westbrook every day, I'm pretty sure that helps him a whole heck of a lot because I see a lot of similar traits in both of them. I can tell that that he plays against them in practice every day. But with that being said, the only way you can post up Russell is if another guy's going to be the primary ball handler. And you don't want that primary ball handler being KD because now I got my 2 best players 8 feet from each other. And now the other 4 or 5 guys can shift and keep them on that side.
Good point.
And also, if they miss a shot when they're both on this side, we're gone.
And if you double swing to Cephalosha, fine. That's fine.
Some
Go
things
ahead.
in life you gotta live with.
Someone will run at them. It'll be fine.
Open for a reason.
Yeah.
Okay? So you don't want that guy to be KD. But it can't be Cephalosha. He doesn't handle like that. So when they were able to do it in a lot of cases, it was Derek Fisher entering the ball.
That's a good point.
Or it was Reggie Jackson entering the ball. So what they have to get Reggie Jackson to do is we want you to stay aggressive, but we want you to throw the ball in the post to Russell.
Yeah.
Also, we don't want you calling high pick and roll all the time. And so I think that's an adjustment that they made in Game 2. They were successful at. Look for the OKC Thunder to do more of that in Game 3.
Because one of the other reasons I like it is because it makes Chris Paul use energy on defense. More energy than he would use if he was guarding the ball. He's used to that. It's just, you can tell it kind of frustrates him a little bit. And he's got to work so hard in the offensive and running the team. You said it before, you have the Thunder winning the series.
I do.
You're confident in that.
7 games playing at home. 80% of the time, the team that hosts Game 7 in the playoffs wins the series.
Yeah. I think the numbers are the same with the teams that are up 0-2 for the
like,
other 2 series.
I like a lot of fans think the NBA 82-game schedule is too long.
Yep.
But it always seems to play out with home court advantage. And that's where the Spurs, now in a 2-2-1-1-1 scenario, all of a sudden, unlike Miami last year where they had to play Game 6 and 7 on the road, they got a chance to host Game 7. They got the best record in the league.
Let's talk about the Spurs. The first thing I want to talk about, snakes on a plane. Snakes in the locker room. Snakes in the
Everybody's a snake. That's why I keep the grass cut so I can see them when they come. Jada.
Snake in the locker room. Was that snake a plant?
Yes.
From who?
I mean, a snake just doesn't.
Snakes can be crawling around buildings and stuff.
Okay. I had roaches before. Okay.
So have I. Everyone's had roaches.
And when you're gonna have company, you leave the lights on in the house because anybody that's had roaches knows when you cut on the light after it's been dark for a while, it scares the roaches and they scatter and they run everywhere.
Yeah. You don't want to bring a date home and do that.
Correct.
Yeah.
So when you're gonna have company, you gotta have the lights on at least 30 minutes. So there are no surprises.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Spurs, savvy championship caliber team. I'm not saying that no one in their organization had anything to do with this.
That's what you're saying.
But snakes don't just come out of anywhere.
So you are saying that. Who's got access to the locker room, right? I've been lucky enough to play in the Staples Center, pickup or whatever. And there's only so many people that have that card that can get you in the locker room.
got a classic picture out there.
Yeah. We won some games that day, too. That was fun.
That was a classic.
That was fun. That was fun. The dirty secret, hard to stop Jalen Rose from scoring. Hard to stop Jalen Rose from scoring. If we were ever down, it was like, hey, Jalen, like, do your thing. But, like, there's only, like, so many people that have that swipe card to get you in the locker room.
100%.
And then you know.
Snake
doesn't have that card.
I played in the original Boston Garden. We walked in the locker room. It was colder in the locker room
everybody says.
in January than it was outside.
That's what everybody says.
Okay. That's what makes a distinct home court advantage.
You just don't want to say anybody from the Spurs organization put a snake in there. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying someone like an equipment guy. You know, one of those guys.
Because it didn't have to be somebody from the organization. It could be somebody from the building staff.
Sure, yeah. Or whoever puts the towels in there. Like, there's a lot of people in and out that fill it with Gatorades or whatever. Somebody brought in a snake.
Right. And by the way, I'm scared of snakes.
Who isn't? They're scary. Snakes are scary.
Some people, I see them at I seen people with snakes on their shoulders and doing tricks with snakes, and I'm scared of snakes.
I just look at it like that thing's just going to wrap around your neck and kill you.
Correct.
It wants to do that. It's just waiting for the right moment.
And it's definitely a distraction. And if you're a young Portland team, it gives you something to say wild about for 30 minutes while the veteran Spurs on the court shooting their free throws, getting ready for the game.
You know, they came out, they're like, oh, well, the snake wasn't poisonous. It's like, I don't care. I don't know that.
Correct.
You know what I mean? I'm not Bear Grylls. I don't know what snakes are poisonous, what they aren't.
The problem with Portland is that when you beat Houston, they're not a defensive savvy team, and they're a young basketball team. Look at Lynn, Ashik, Chandler Parsons, rotation players, Beverly. They're fairly young rotation players. And plus, they don't play defense.
Dwight Howard plays defense.
James Harden doesn't.
James Harden doesn't play.
Okay. But when you go against the Spurs, they're 5 men playing defense. They're on the string. Hey, switch. Hey, watch the help. Hey, give up a good shot to get a great shot. Oh, we're contesting that one. And so they're always on the string. That's the hardest thing to deal with. Yeah, they're making threes. Yeah, you see them getting out in transition. Kawhi was 4 for 4. Tony Parker, keep him in the spin cycle. You know, his bathtub lift up. His walls do a 360. That's his move now, and I like that.
Is that the second Jada reference?
It's true, though.
Yeah, I like it.
I talked to him recently. That's probably why I got him
No,
on the
I'm into it. This is the All D Block podcast.
Yeah, we're going to get him on the podcast. He talked to me about coming
We're going to get Styles P in here, too.
We're going to get the locks, too. Big shout, Sheik Luch. And so.
Who had a slept-on solo album?
I know, right?
Luch's album was dope.
Yeah, exactly. And so when you go against that team, a well-oiled machine playing on their home court, 4-time champion on the sideline, Lillard's first time in the playoffs, that's tough sledding. Spurs in 5.
I have a question, Jalen. Did you expect to see a little more out of LaMarcus Aldridge in this series?
I like when you raise your hand like Arnold Horshack, but you got to,
It started with 46 and then 43 or whatever it was. You know, Tim Duncan, Thiago Splitter.
Tim Duncan, the best thing about his game is that it was never about explosion. It was always about brains and position. So you put Splitter on him. Last series they put Ashik on him. But who's the help side defender? Tim Duncan. And where's Lopez? Underneath the hoop trying to get an offensive rebound. So Tim can do late contests. If he drive past, Tim is going to be right in the paint. You funnel him to where your help is. Splitter's doing a good job one-on-one, but still, it's a team effort. I expect more from Aldridge in Game 3. You're going to get more from Aldridge. Portland wins Game 3.
So the reason I think Portland wins Game 3 is like your typical fan reason is because of the Portland crowd, which is they're a factor. So people always talk about it, but as a player on the court, how much does that road playoff crowd actually change the numbers on the scoreboard?
Playing at home affects the dynamics of 2 things that are very important to who wins and loses basketball games. One, the refs.
Ooh. Because they're influenced by the crowd, are you saying?
It's not that they're influenced per se by the refs. It's that when all things equal in baseball, the tie goes to the runner at first base. Normally, if we're both exhibiting effort, the tie goes to the home team.
From the ref's point of view.
Yes.
If it's a bang-bang call, he's just more likely to give it to the home team.
Correct. And that's just human nature.
Is that like sociology? Like he just wants to sort of like please the people around him, the pressure of the building, like on a deep level kind of a thing, like not consciously.
I think what it is more so is we're in their backyard and you got to knock out the champ. That mentality.
Yeah. If it goes to score, like you gotta beat Mayweather. You know what I mean? You can't come close. You gotta beat Mayweather.
Correct. And the other thing that happened is because of that fan base that is so excited, and then your family and friends are at the game and your kids are there and everybody's wearing jerseys and everybody's psyched the night before about how this playoff run could be something special, we all appreciate support from our loved ones. And when Jacoby's going to take a big test next Monday, if he has somebody every day saying, I love you, man, it's going to be all right. You got the help you need. We'll get you the tutoring you need. Oh, you got to go to bed. I'm going to make sure you get the nutrition you need.
Jalen, you got a big weekend of shows, man. I love you, man. It's going to be all right. You're going to do great.
Exactly.
You got the team. It's going to be good. I'll text you during halftime.
No doubt. By the time you get to the floor, you feel like you can run through a brick wall. So you're a little bit more confident. And that's why role players always shoot better at home. They're more aggressive at home. They drive to the basket more. They're more excitable, thumping their chest, pumping up the crowd.
I think that role player thing's a good point. That probably makes more sense.
And because you expect your all-star players, they got to play game 81. They got to play game 1. They got to do all of the interviews. Like, that comes with the big ticket.
Yep.
But for your role players and the officials, I think playing at home really sways their production.
And don't sleep on the last moment in Portland, in that arena.
Wow.
Like, don't forget what that fan base is coming off. And you know, everyone with a ticket in their hand for the game is extra excited because of what happened.
Litter starts on the right wing. All of a sudden, he's coming towards the inbounds pass. Batum gets it to him. He turns over the right shoulder. It's good! 4-3. Sub-Zero eliminates the Houston Rockets.
By the time you said Rockets, Chandler Parsons was just getting over to the spot.
Well, what Chandler Parsons was doing, he was falling on the ground like Craig Elo after Michael Jordan hit the double pump jumper at the free throw line.
We need to talk about your boy.
Okay. Floyd.
Mark Jackson.
Big shout, Floyd.
Yeah,
Still
shout out to
undefeated.
Floyd. Yeah, he's going to die undefeated.
Friend of the show.
Yeah.
We're going to get him back on.
Yeah, he'll come back. Mark Jackson.
Okay.
Why doesn't he just coach the Knicks? Like, why doesn't this just happen? It just seems like it's supposed to happen.
Right place, right time for Steve Kerr.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And I say this all of the time. You're only as faithful as your options. People see that you have the potential to do a good job as a head coach. Phil Jackson, you won championships with him as a player. He's been your mentor on and off the floor. He gets the job in New York for $60 million. He tabs you as the guy that he wants to bring in to be the head coach.
So you're saying Steve Kerr is going to coach the Knicks?
And turn the Knicks around.
I saw on Reddit, and shout out to Reddit. I don't post on there, but I'm on there all the time. And they said that I saw they had a link or whatever. Steve Kerr's going to make a decision on Monday, an announcement of sorts. I don't know if this is real.
And so
you're predicting Knicks?
When you gain that interest, you got 29 other teams like, let me investigate this a little more. Then you got Utah saying, we want to interview him also. We think he'll do good for our team. Then you get the Lakers trying to figure, are we going to call him or not?
Warriors have a job now.
Then you get the Warriors actually calling him. He's friends, and he's worked with their president or someone high in their front office while he was in Phoenix. So they have a personal relationship. So how that relates to Mark Jackson is if they didn't feel that strongly about Kerr initially, I don't think they would have fired Mark at all, B that fast. To me, they fired him because they felt like they had a strong shot to get Steve Kerr. Now, if they don't get Steve Kerr, I'm hearing Stan Van Gundy may be in play also. Do I agree with them firing Mark Jackson? They didn't do it for basketball reasons. If they were doing it for basketball reasons, the fans should stand on the table.
What do you mean they didn't do it for basketball reasons?
Back-to-back playoffs for the first time
This
since
is a
the early 90s.
results-oriented business. Maybe the owner said, I gave you a second-round roster. You gave me a first-round exit.
That's a good point. And now let me break down your roster because you hired me to do a job.
Mm-hmm.
You're the GM. I'm the coach. Okay. You guys, we drafted Steph. I turned him into an all-star.
Mm-hmm.
An MVP caliber player in years to come. Drafted Klay Thompson. I turned him into one of the top shooting guards in this league. And he's going to be a maximum caliber player. We drafted Harrison Barnes. Kind of like Carolina. He shows flashes, then all of a sudden you can't find him.
Mm-hmm.
But when Lee was out last year and I had to play him at small 4, I got the most out of him. Draymond Green, where did he come from?
Where did he come from?
Okay, who would have thought that he'd be the most productive big that the Warriors had on their roster their last couple of playoff games?
Yeah.
Okay.
He had a great series.
He was a second-round pick.
I'd like to see that from him next regular season.
And you giving me Jermaine O'Neal in his 18th season. Oh, he's injured. What a surprise.
Yeah.
Okay?
Bogut.
And
always
Andrew
injured.
Bogut. Oh, he's injured.
Yeah.
What a surprise.
David Lee, half the speed he used to be.
Okay, and he was injured in the playoffs last year.
Yeah. Now, you know I love David Lee, but he looks slow.
And you bring in Andre Iguodala to be the ball handler or to be the Jarrett Jack and take the ball out of Steph's hands and take the ball out of Klay's hands.
He's not that.
And while he's been a productive player sometimes, all year he only averaged 9. And now I got to play him those minutes, and that's less minutes for Harrison Barnes. And so this is the hand you gave me to work with. No Landry on the bench. So somebody gets hurt, Maurice Spates, Hilton Armstrong, okay? That's who I got to work with to go against Blake Griffin.
Yeah, Space
DeAndre Jordan.
Space played a lot of minutes. It's like you're firing me, but you put me in a position where I had to play Space a lot.
And so in the West, and when you watch basketball, for the fans out there, remember, you play 50 games against your own division, your own conference, and 30 against the other. That means Golden State played 50 games against the tough West, where a team like Memphis was the 8th seed. They would have been the second best team in the entire East, okay? That's how tough it is in the West. Golden State had a better record than them.
Yeah.
Okay? Made the playoffs back-to-back years for the first time since the early 90s. So he's shown that he can coach basketball. So even if I'm not your guy, somebody else is going to hire me one day.
So here's the thing. If you're Steve Kerr, if you're one of these coaching, and Zach Lowe made this point on the BS Report, why don't you just go coach the Knicks? Because you play in the East, you win 48 games, like, you're good.
That's what coaches do.
That's what I would do.
And that's
what I would do.
That is one of the things that goes into the thinking. And that, along with a lot of other reasons, is one of the reasons I think Kerr is and or will take the Knicks job. But now let me tell you Knicks fans what Kerr's doing that's smart. He's stringing y'all along.
Up the price.
Right.
Up the
Think
price.
about
Every
how-
interview he goes on, the price goes up.
So they hired Phil in February, March.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We were talking about that then. Okay. He still ain't took the gig officially. You know what? I got to talk to my family this weekend. We'll figure out it on Monday.
Yeah.
Maybe Golden State comes
All
with
of
an
a sudden,
offer.
The Jazz want to interview.
Maybe somebody want to back up the Brinks truck.
Yeah.
He's going to give them the chance to do that. And so
What's the downside?
there is no downside.
Why not?
I got options. For Mark Jackson, he did a terrific job. He's a friend of mine. The complaints that I'm hearing coming out of Golden State about Mark, they said, naysayer said, within the organization, I gotta divulge some trade secrets. One, Brian Scalabrine, who's a friend of Grantland,
Mm-hmm.
he was a snake to Mark Jackson.
How so?
He was one of the people that was undermining the situation from day one, to the point where he was rumored to be big time in other members of the staff where he walked past them weeks without even saying hello. Now, you're not.
Are we not allowed to have the Scalabrine jersey in here anymore?
No.
Scalabrine jerseys in the control room?
Not going to be able to do it. At least not when I'm around.
Okay.
Okay. And so when you behave that way, now it becomes a staff issue. For everybody out there that has people that work for them, you always say, if I had 3 of me, if I had 5 of me, if I had 20 of me, I think things would be more effective, more efficient because I'm doing it my way. When you hire people or they're a part of your staff, you have to delegate, okay? If I'm delegating to one of my staff members and he's undermining me and or backstabbing me to other staff members, to people on my team, and to people in the front office, I can't deal with you. And we saw that happen again this year with the Nets and Lawrence Frank. It's no different.
Yeah.
It happens. When coaches hire a staff, normally the way you should do it is you hire people that trust you and vice versa, number 1. 2, people that don't want your job.
Well,
They may want a job, but they don't want your job.
how many coaches, basketball coaches, say this? When I grow up, I want to be an assistant head coach in the NBA.
Correct.
Who says that?
Correct.
Nobody says that. Everyone says, when I grow up, I want to be a head coach in the NBA.
Correct. And the second person that's in play, along with Scal, as he got reassigned, and that also became a black eye on Mark with the suits in the organization because they feel fondly of Scal. So it was almost like they were put in a position to choose between their head coach and their 19th assistant coach. The problem for Mark, they somewhat chose their 19th assistant coach. And that's why today he's without a job with the Warriors and Scal is still there. 1. 2, Scal's best friend in the organization, or one of his good friends in the organization, who also came from Boston, was secretly V. Stiviano style taping coaches' meetings.
Allegedly. Allegedly.
No, he didn't.
Allegedly. Allegedly.
No, I went X-Clan. I went deeper than Atlantis on this. I went deeper than the intel that we know about. Okay. And not only, at least V. Stiviano was participating in the conversation and recording it. He got a bag in the room with an iPhone on top of it, and he ain't in the room recording
Not
it.
even in the room? So leaving behind?
Come on now.
I mean.
Right? And so, the coaches find out he's doing that.
What would you do? What would you do?
He gets fired.
Of course.
Right? But the problem I have with this industry, he got a job 2 seconds later.
Of course he did.
Okay.
And he's got a story to tell too.
Right?
Everyone's got their own reality, you know?
And so when you have people undermining you that's supposed to be working with you and working next to you, it creates an awkward working environment. There was rumors that he and Malone, the other coach who left, who's now with Sacramento, had issues. And so that's why when you hire a coaching staff, you hire loyalty, good people that's going to work hard. You're going to focus on the offense. You're going to focus on the defense. You're going to focus on the scouting. You're going to focus on working out players and developing them. You're going to focus on the D-League team and what happens. You're going to focus on what's scouting. So everybody stays in their silo. Everybody stays in their lane. You keep a focus. You keep a team. Now all of a sudden when we have success, people want to come hire all of you guys.
I think Mark Jackson should coach the Knicks. You're saying that Steve Kerr is going to end up coaching the Knicks. Then where does Mark Jackson go? Is he with us? Is he with ESPN?
I think Mark Jackson is saying hand down, man down. No later than the NBA Finals with Jeff Van Gundy and Mike Breen this year in the finals.
I love that team. I love that team.
Right?
I love that team.
But also, he's getting paid by the Warriors next year. So there should not be a rush to coach. But for me, you can't have the success that he had and not want to do it again.
How come I don't hear that much about the Lakers head coaching job?
Because
I'm not hearing anything.
Here's why. Nobody knows what's going to happen with Kobe.
He said on Kimmel, he's like, well, I want to have a say in it or whatever.
I don't mean that. I mean the last 2 years, Kobe's probably played 10 games.
I know what's going to happen with Kobe.
Since
He's not going to be the same Kobe. He's going to try. He might get injured. He's not going to be that effective, and they're not going to be that good. That's what's going to happen with Kobe.
Kobe, unfortunately, gets injured with his Achilles a couple of seasons ago late in the year. It was about April, around playoff time. He misses the playoffs or he gets hurt in the playoffs. And the next year, which was this past season, obviously he has his knee issue.
Mm-hmm.
He has 2 years and $49 million left on his deal. It's almost like taking a Minnesota deal. You don't know if Kevin Love's going to stay, so it's hard for you to go and commit 4 or 5 years.
I know Kevin Love's not going to stay. I don't need to go deeper than Atlantis. He's not going to stay.
But if you're going to take the job in L.A., where they fire coaches, they've had 3-4 coaches in the last 3-4 years.
Shout out to Bernie Bickerstaff.
Right?
I think he has a good winning percentage.
Mike Brown, Bernie, Mike D'Antoni.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you see they're going through coaches like underwear, you got to be like, wait a minute.
Sign a 3-year deal, get fired after 1, you're good.
I can't just dance underwater and not get wet with this situation. I got to make sure that he's going to be healthy and he's going to be happy with me coaching. And so because there are intimate details for them to get through the next couple of years, what I'm calling the Kobe era, what I would do, they have to hire somebody that's family. And to me, that person is Byron Scott. That's who I want to see be the Lakers'
He's been
next
talked
coach.
about. That would make sense. Now, we only have a couple minutes left. Rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Real quick, all right? Your boy, Trey Burke. It was written in the papers. I think it was the Salt Lake City, whatever it's called. I'll shout out to them. I forget. He says he makes $2.4 a year, living on $5,000 a month.
So let me show you how to spend $2.4 million. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Uncle Sam gets around 44%. Your agent gets around 4%.
So we're already up to 1.2.
You got 1.2.
Yep.
Okay. You haven't bought anything.
No, you have the ink isn't even dry yet.
So how much does the house you want to live in cost? If you're making 2.4.
Probably $4 million.
Okay, we're in the red.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
We need a loan already.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that based on your 1.2.
Oh, wait, what about my mom? I want to get her one.
That's why I bring this up.
That one's probably $1 million.
So what he's doing, while it's commendable, and he's a Michigan man, his parents do a very good job with him. His dad has been his coach, who also coached Jared Sullinger.
Yep.
They're very sharp people. He went to Michigan. He's educated. And so, in theory, it may seem like he's only living off $5,000.
That's what he has to live off.
But that's, if he wants to have something, what he should be living off of
Next.
at his point of his career.
Apple buys Beats by Dre.
Woo!
Dr.
Dre.
$3.2 billion or something?
I got a trade secret.
Okay.
Beside Beat Street, Wild Style, Breaking, Crush Groove, Run DMC, Grandmaster Flash, and the Furious Five. I'm trying to think everybody pre-85, all pre-85 things that influenced my hip hop, my love for hip hop. One of my favorite records was Dr. Dre and the World Class Wrecking Crew. It's called Surgery. The scratches and the breaks in that song are what made me actually want to DJ.
Motown Clown.
Exactly. And so I've been following Dre's movement forever. Okay? He's the #1 influential hip hop artist of all time. I've said that on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I got honorable mention from Jay-Z and
Sure,
Puffy,
you can argue that forever, but whatever.
Pac. Russell Simmons wasn't an artist, for those who are going to throw him in the conversation.
Sure.
All of these guys that I just mentioned are the Mount Rushmore or two of hip-hop. Mm-hmm. And obviously I can go.
We can argue about it forever. Who cares?
Correct.
Whatever, yeah.
And so one of the things he did is use what he got to get what he want. How simple is it for Dr. Dre to have headphones called Beats by Dre? It's almost as simple as me drinking this water right here.
I know, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna get Monster together. They make headphones. They take my name. I'm in the studio all the time. I need high quality headphones, so you already assume that. Like you associate me with high quality music and high quality sound. There you go. Nope. Now, $3 million later.
And also, all entertainers, athletes, fans of music, you at work right now listening to this podcast when you should be working. You're wearing headphones.
You're wearing headphones right now.
Okay? And so, if they're Beats by Dre headphones, they're cool.
That's what people
because
think.
that's Dr. Dre.
Yeah.
Okay? So, Eminem's wearing them. LeBron James is wearing them.
But let's look at the other side of the table. If you're Apple, They come out with Beats music. They're not taking over your corner. They're just kind of posting up on it on the side. They're kind of like, look, we're around your corner. We're eyeing your corner. They're like, okay, fine. We'll just eat you. We'll just eat you for breakfast. Here's 3.2. Now you're off my corner.
And for that kind of money, how about this? For $3.2 billion, you can take my bat. Here, I'm done. Here.
Yeah, but I could take that bat for $300.
And I don't mean literally, I mean figuratively. People don't know. Sometimes they forget why I wear the bat. You might have a chip on your shoulder. I got a bat on mine. Mm-hmm. Okay, $3.2 billion.
There's a price for everything.
It goes away.
There's a price for everything. You can take my left pinky for like $3 million.
Big shout to Dr. Dre. I'll give you an intimate trade secret. I have, and my godfather was one of the influential people with Jimmy Iovine to start Interscope Records. Mm-hmm. And he'll strangle me if I said his name, so I'm not. But I remember meeting Dre in the mid-'90s when I came to L.A. and I started spending time here. And when they had so much success with Death Row Records, so many platinum plaques, and so many platinum records, there's a huge Death Row plaque that has all of their platinum records on it. It probably has like 20 of them.
It's probably bigger than the studio.
It is so sweet. And my godfather said he was going to give it to me, but as much as blood, sweat, and tears I know he put into it, every time he tries to give it to me, I end up leaving without it.
It's like taking somebody else's trophy or something. It's like, I didn't earn this.
And then I realized I've been leaving without it for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I have a few platinum plaques from friends that are artists that have given them to me. But the point is, I don't want his platinum plaque, but I want him to get me one made. It's that sweet. And Dre has been that influential. He deserves this success, $3.2 billion.
Yeah, none of that. I mean, it's not like all that goes to his pocket.
Hey.
I mean, sure, it gets split up a bunch of ways, but you can split that up 10 ways. It's still
Big
a lot
shout
of
to
money.
the good doctor.
Yeah.
And what about all of the artists he's influenced? You know,
Influenced,
Above the
worked
Law,
with, created,
Above the Law, Snoop Dogg, Michelle Lay,
everything. Eminem,
Dog Pound,
yeah.
Eminem.
50,
He's influenced 50. He's influenced The Game.
All that.
Like Kendrick Lamar.
And just done beats for so many people that we're not even
NWA,
naming.
the Chronic albums. Like, the list goes on and on, literally. So if
Nate
anybody
Dogg
deserves
does.
it in this industry, and he always keeps a low pro and always handles his BI, it's him.
Greg Oden has come out and said on Grantland.com, you might be familiar with the website,
I heard of it once.
that he knows he's one of the biggest busts in NBA history. He's saying that. Those words are coming out of his mouth. What does that say to you?
You might as well retire right now.
Really?
Because you gave up the fight. When you say that I'm one of the biggest busts right now and I know it'll continue to get worse, that's basically saying that your game's not going to get any better. That means you're not going to have any meaningful minutes in your head. That means in game 2 of the playoffs, you don't think you're going to come off against Tim Duncan and all of a sudden block 4 shots and get 10 points in the first half because Anderson and Bosch were in foul trouble. But that's the competitive spirit you got to have if you're going to go pick up the check that I'm giving you.
Jalen, I don't want to end the pod sad. Can we do Got to Give the People again?
Got to give the people.
What do we give them now?
Give the people what they want.
We'll pop the trunk next week.
Hit the
We'll be
deck.
back.
John Wayne couldn't even stand the rain attack.
Thanks for listening to Jalen and Jacoby.
Yeah.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Do it. Just click the subscribe button. It's super easy, and we promise it costs you nothing. Thank you. Yes, you. Click the topics and choose your own podcast adventure.